Hey, you guys. Today I am here with one of the greatest Broadway producers. I'm here with Mr. James L. Walker Jr., and he has received 17 Tony nominations for his productions this season, including Dead Outlaw and Buena Vista Social Club. I think it's important to note that he is the only Black male producer on Dead Outlaw, which received seven Tony nominations, and Buena Vista Social Club is just a river of diversity and inclusion. Both shows are just quite incredible. So, Mr. Walker, I'm so happy to have you today. How are you today?
Joel, I'm wonderful today, and I'm so happy to be with you. I see you on all the red carpets. I think last year I saw you when we opened Hell's Kitchen,
Hell's Kitchen
and
and
you are
Cabaret.
just, and Cabaret. We opened them the same weekend, and you are just that guy.
Thank
So
you.
to be here today as a producer in Dead Outlaw and an investor in Buena Vista Social Club, part of the producer team of Front Row Productions, I'm just honored. I'm just really honored.
Thank you so much. But talk to me about these two shows. I mean, both shows are very, very amazing, and they're two different shows, quite like, shall I say. What has it
Totally
been
different.
like bringing these shows to Broadway?
Sure. Dead Outlaw, I got a call from Lauren LaCroix. And Lauren called me. She works in Leah Volek Productions, and we do MJ together. We have
Mm,
MJ on four continents right now in five casts. And Front Row is a producer. And of course, I invest in all of those shows. And she called me and she said, I got something different for you. And I said, What do you mean? She said, It's a play about a dead man who's in a coffin almost the whole play. And I
right.
said, What? She said, No, trust me, it's doing well off Broadway. You're going to love it. So I went to the previews, I read up on it, um, read a lot, saw a lot of video clips, and I said, Okay, I'll come in as a producer. I invested myself as a producer, and it is amazing. I mean, Julie Natel and Jeb Brown and Andrew, the lead actor, Andrew Duran. I mean, just incredible. And our executive producers, Leah Volek and Sonia Friedman. I mean, this is just masterful, just totally masterful. I've seen nothing like it. And the
Right.
fact that it got seven Tony nominations tells you everything. Like, this is a play you have to run out and see. And traditionally, our community hasn't done Broadway. You don't see people that look like you and me in these Broadway plays. That's why I said, let me come on and talk to you, because I want our communities to see people like you doing these wonderful interviews and people like myself who are investing in dozens of shows, and that there's a space for us there and there's a place for us. And I just enjoy the arts. I've been in theater since Mama I Want to Sing. I've done a ton of plays with David Talbert and so many others over the decades. But this arrival upon Broadway, which started with Piano Lesson, is now up to 15 or 16 plays. And I love producing, investing, whatever you want to call it. I don't really get caught up in the titles. I get caught up in the partnership, and I get caught up in the quality of the work and the integrity of the work. And Dead Outlaw is just something that I just love. The casts are just genuine people. If you go to their pages, whether Julia, whether Andrew, whether Jeb, any of their pages, the musicians, they're just genuine people. And it's the story, for those that don't know, it's the story of Elmer McPurdy. He was a bank robber in the early 1900s, got killed in the act of trying to rob a bank. And then his body was filled with, I think, arsenic and mummified. I may be mispronouncing the word, but it was mummified. And Sonia Freeman and Leah Volek and the cast and the crew have done such an excellent job of putting together the story of how they took his body all over the country, like in touring exhibits. Body got lost and then was discovered on the set of a TV show. They were shooting The $6 Million Man, which was one of my favorite shows growing up in the 70s. They were
Wow.
shooting The $6 Million Man with Lee Majors, and someone discovered the body. And then they call the coroner out, and he connects the dots that this is Lee McPurdy, famous bank robber from the early 19 or 1920s or whatever. And it's just crazy. It's a crazy story, and it's told in an adventuresome, funny kind of slap comedy, westerner kind of comedy with songs and music to match, and a lot of great choreography and dancing on the stage by the cast members.
It is so incredible. And I think that's what's special for me about the shows that you produce and invest in is that it's quality work. If we're looking at Hell's Kitchen, if we're looking at Cabaret, if we're looking at MJ, if we're looking at Piano Lesson, Buena Vista, Dead Outlaw. Each show is one so different, but also such quality work from the sets to the costumes to the cast. I mean, all these shows have quite fantastic casts. Talk to me about what's special about bringing these shows, what's special about opening up a show and bringing these shows to different audiences.
Sure, and it's funny you said Buena Vista. They called me a couple months ago and asked me, to get in Buena Vista. I didn't know anything about it. I remember the music from the '90s because I played trumpet all through high school, and I had
Oh,
members
okay.
of my trumpet kind of quartet, like four of us. One brother, Edwin Ramos, knew this sound, and I remember hearing this sound, but I didn't know it was called Buena Vista Social Club, which is a section of Havana, Cuba, where a group of musicians got together and made this sound that just took America by storm. They won
Right.
Grammys, they won all kind of awards. I mean, it is just a phenomenal sound. El Canto de Tula, the Chan Chan, the Chandler, all these great songs. And they called me a couple months ago and they said, look, we know you're in MJ, we know you're in Hell's Kitchen, we know you're doing Outlaw, but you really need to look at this. I said no 3 times on Benefits.
Really?
I said no 3 times. And then the fourth time, my partner Leah Jones Harvey and my partner Stephen Bird, who own Front Row Productions, they said, trust us, you want to be in this one. So in the ninth hour, they called me, sent me the contract, the paperwork, and I signed everything. Went to see it in March, I think. I saw it in previews, and I called them screaming through the phone, just screaming. Because what you have in Buena Vista is the story of Cuba's struggle in the '90s. These musicians, some staying there and living out the music, some leaving for America. So it kind of displays the political, social, musical, and every other environment of Cuba at that time. And you don't have that. And we have a cast on stage of 20 or 30 Afro, Latino, Cuban, Black, Americans doing this show, which is just phenomenal. The
And
Tony,
what's really cool is that they've already won a Tony. They're
they've
getting the
already won.
special Tony, the entire band.
The entire band got a special Tony. And I'm hoping they get to perform on the show on June 8th. Um, I'm excited to go and see them perform and let America see this is us. This is us. And I salute Stephen Bird and Lauren and John Leguizamo and Lin Manuel's father, all the people who are behind it, LaShawn's. I mean, these are the key people. I just came in on the tail end and got a chance to be on this wonderful ride. And I've spoken to the cast. We had them over at our Museum of Broadway. The cast
Yes.
came last weekend to the Museum of Broadway, and I happened to be in town for Dead Outlaws premiere the same day. So I walked over to the Museum of Broadway. I walked over there and just happened to, be able to sit in and tell the cast first how grateful I was that they stopped by the museum, but how grateful I was to be a part of this play. It just seemed like God is aligning everything. And for
Mm,
me, this is just a hobby. You got to remember, our legal team is like the top entertainment law team doing contracts all over the world and
right.
lawsuits and deals. And, we probably got 12, 15 people working internally legally and another 10 or 20 outside counsel working with us. So this is just a hobby, a fun thing that I had a chance to be a part of. And I have to thank Richard and Gina and my whole team and KD and Jillian and so many others on my team who make this thing roll, who just make everything flow while we do this Broadway thing.
Absolutely. Now, I think it's important to note you were named one of Billboard's magazine's top entertainment attorneys for 2024. And while you are a part of all these wonderful Broadway shows, you are also bringing students along with what you're doing, and you work a lot with mentorship. You work a lot with feeding the hungry. I know you talk to me about that as well. Talk to me about those other things that you're a part of too, not just the Broadway.
Sure, thank you for that question. Yes, this Friday, four of my students will graduate from Howard Law School. And I'm
Wow.
so they worked up at our firm for a year or 2 years. They're just our latest batch. We've trained about 120 attorneys. Many of them have gone on to be entertainment lawyers, and I'm very proud of that. I do a lot of work with our food pantry at our local church in Connecticut, where I'm from. So we are feeding thousands of people. We're, a food pantry. You can come in there, you can shop for groceries like you're in a grocery store, and we get ready to make a big announcement about some other plans we have to expand it. So for me, this legal thing is kind of a full circle where your community, you're obviously handling legal work, you're volunteering, you're giving back, You're writing articles, you're writing books, you're doing interviews like this, as well as you're investing in Broadway and trying to diversify the culture there and show people that people like you and me have the tools, the skills, and the resources to be in this setting, to be
Absolutely.
so-called Broadway, which traditionally has not looked like us. And you're letting people see, yeah, yeah, we can raise funds, we can produce, we can do the music, we can do whatever. I took Ice-T to Hell's Kitchen. Alita Stevens, our publicist, arranged for Ice-T and I to go see it, and he just sat there amazed, like, "This is us." And I was like, "Yeah, brother, this is us." And that's the moment you want to have where people in your family. My mom came to see MJ. My sister came
Mm.
with her, and they were just tickled to see MJ the musical. Each week, someone is seeing MJ in London, Germany, Australia, Broadway, or an American tour, which I think is coming through Florida as we speak. So it's just a great thing, and I hope Buena Vista Social Club and Dead Outlaw, I hope they go just as big as MJ and Hell's Kitchen. Matter of fact, I signed paperwork yesterday. I guess I can give you the exclusive. I signed paperwork yesterday to do the Hell's Kitchen tour. So Hell's
Mm.
Kitchen is going to mount a 30 city tour starting, I believe, in about 90 or 120 days, the fall. They start a 30 city tour. So Hell's Kitchen will be coming all over the country.
It's so exciting. And for me, when I see these announcements, I look through the list of producers. I look to see who's involved. And when I see a name like yours, that just means the most to me because it shows me, man, I can do whatever I want. Because look at you, you're out here producing, you're doing all the different things. You're
Thank you.
obviously an alum of Howard University. And so
Yes.
you've touched all these different points. Talk to me about that, going to Howard and
Mm.
growing up trying to diversify and now truly diversifying. What has that journey been like for you?
Outside of my mother and my grandparents, I probably owe Howard a great deal of what I'm doing now. I got to Howard as a 17-year-old, not what you're in that same range. So I was
Yeah,
a
yeah. I'm
17-year-old.
16 now. I turn 17 next week.
All right, so there you go. I was 17 when I got to Howard. Single mom drove me down, and I got to Howard and started putting together concerts and step shows, and that's how it evolved to Broadway. I
Yeah.
was running out of money, and I said, I got to think of something to do to pay for school. So I started promoting shows, concerts, plays, just doing anything to raise money. I was never a drinker, never a smoker, not a big partier, not running the streets, whatever. But I figured out, I guess you would call a marketing gimmick a little bit. Like you find the right talent, you put it on the stage, the people buy the tickets, everybody has a good time, and you make money in the process. So I figured that process out at about 17, 18 years old, started promoting shows at Howard, started doing step shows, started doing parties at first, and then step shows and shows. So I credit Howard, and to fast forward now and be a board member of the College of Fine Arts at Howard, where I used to sit in the basement there and diddle daddle on the piano and diddle daddle on the trumpet a little bit, to be now on the board of such a prestigious school, Howard itself, and then the individual College of Fine Arts, the Chadwick Boseman College of Fine Arts. I'm a board member for that college within the college, and it's just mind boggling. Like, who would have thought a 17-year-old kid coming here, with $500 in his pocket would now be setting up scholarships. And we're in the process of trying to establish some internship programs for the school with Broadway. We're working on that. It's a lot of great things going on. And I owe a great debt to Howard that I probably could never repay. And the way I try to repay it is our law office has helped 35 kids get into Howard and
Mm.
given probably well over 50 to 100 book scholarships. My son and I do that every year. We give out book scholarships. So we've given thousands and thousands of dollars in book scholarships, whether undergrad or law school. Because I went to Howard undergrad and law school, then got a master's from Yale. But Yale has a $30 billion endowment. They don't need any money. So so a lot of my help is designated to Howard and making sure those students get the help they need, and also see me as a vehicle and a vessel that can help them get into the entertainment game.
That's incredible. Now, when going into a courtroom or going into, let's say, a producing meeting or something like that, and you might not see other faces that look like you, what is that like? And how do you then back that up with the powerful work that you do in those rooms?
That's a great question. It is intimidating. I can't lie. No matter how much money you have, no matter how many millions you've made or whatever, you still feel brand new. You still feel fresh. You still feel nervous. You still feel like a little bit of do I belong? What do they call it? Imposter syndrome? I don't know
Yes,
if that's
exactly.
but you still feel a little some kind of way. But I'm so fortunate. I want to give praise to Leah Valla, Sonia Friedman, and others on Broadway who have just made me feel at home. I've never
Mm,
seen that they saw a black man. I feel like they saw a man who happened to be black, but who had a passion for the arts and just wanted to do something positive, and who uses his platform to promote positive plays, to promote people of color getting this enjoyment, this experience. So, yes, it's very daunting. You can probably count on one hand, maybe two at most, the number of black male producers on Broadway. I'm fortunate Stephen Bird, as my mentor, has been doing it for 20 or 30 years. I'm fortunate Leah Jones Harvey, a Spelman grad, has been doing it for about the same amount of time. And I'm fortunate that they kind of just took me under their wing as friends, as clients, and so on. They just brought me in. They knew a friend of a friend of a friend who connected them with me. And then, I started with piano lesson, and now we're 15 shows down the road.
yeah,
And it's just a blessing. But to answer your question, yes, you're intimidated. You go in courtrooms here in Georgia, there's a white judge, there's white lawyers, there's white prosecutors, there's white this, white that. But you just know, first of all, that God has ordained your steps. You know
mm,
that you're not there by coincidence or by happenstance. You're there because God made this chance for you to be there. He made this opportunity. You know that you can do this because you've been prepared. They say success is where what? Opportunity meets preparation.
right.
So I was prepared when I got the call from Broadway. I have to be prepared when I get the call from some of our who's clients like Aretha Franklin and some of the others we work with. I have to be prepared when you get that call. And I won't name any clients because I don't want to overlook anybody, but if anybody does research, they'll see the magnitude of celebrity clients we've represented and
A
still
huge
represent.
list. Yes, yes.
it's a We've been favored by God, but you do get a little nervous if you're honest. If a lawyer is not nervous, then he or she's probably not being honest. To me,
Mm,
it is that nervousness that keeps us humble, that keeps us bowing before God on our knees. Hey, God, I got to do this case. Hey, God, I'm going to put, over millions and millions of dollars in Broadway and different productions. 80% of Broadway shows lose money, and
right.
I'm getting ready to put my money in there. So, God, I'm humbly coming before you, Lord, to protect me and make sure I get my investment back so my grandkids can eat one day. That's kind of how you do it. But it is the thing that you trust God. You just trust God and you trust your instincts and you try to have fun with it. So it's not just about did we make money? It's
Right.
also about, okay, I did Buena Vista. Let's assume we don't make money back for a while, right? But 100 kids from my hometown of Bridgeport, Connecticut come see Buena Vista Social Club or come see Dead Outlaw. To me, that's the repayment.
Yeah.
That's the repayment. I can name at least 500 people I know that have seen MJ the Musical through my Connect, at least over the last 5 years, with the ticket requests that I get, the emails I get, the Facebooks I get. So if 500 friends and family and organizations have come to see MJ and I'm a part of it, that's to me is a part of the blessing and the repayment. You feel me? It's not
Absolutely.
just how much money did we make or did we sell out or did we, you can't look at it that shallow minded. You have to look at what's my purpose here. And my purpose here is to enlighten people that there's another whole Neverland, pun on MJ, there's another whole Neverland called Broadway that you might have never experienced in your life. But if you and your girl, or you and your husband, or you and your boyfriend, or you and your kids, or you and your friends and chums and buddies would just come out one weekend and see one of the productions, you will be changed forever and want to see the other 40 plus shows running on Broadway. Because that's how it is. It becomes an addictive thing. And I didn't realize Broadway did so much for the local economy.
What advice would you give to somebody that wants to be in law on Broadway? What advice would you give to that person?
You got to do this for passion reasons. You can't do it for the money or for the sexy. Hey, I want to do Broadway. Denzel's doing Othello. I want to be involved in sexy stuff like that. I want to do MJ. Miles Frost is on MJ. You can't come at it for the sexy reasons. You have to come at it, I believe, with I just love the arts. I love entertainment. I love watching the process of when we get a script, then we go to funding, then we go to previews, then we go to dress rehearsals, then previews, then the red carpet, then bam, it's open. Like you gotta love the whole process. If you're a baseball player, you love spring training. You love getting geared up, working out with your boys in the gym. My son's a baseball player up in Connecticut. So you love the whole process and it doesn't feel like work when you love it. So to the young people who want to be entertainment lawyers, I say to them, make sure it's something you love doing with a passion. Make sure it's something that you get in it, not just looking for, oh, I want to make a lot of money. I want to be rich. I want to, I want to live this way. I want to have a home here. That's not what this is about. If you get in this with that kind of heart or that kind of energy, it's going to be very frustrating. This is something you get in with a heart of just, I love the arts. I love the pat. I love, I love working with Joel Crump. I love just doing the carpets, red carpets, and meeting people. Like you just gotta love it. That's what it is for me. Lauren LaCroix, she normally says that I'm an entertainment lawyer that's doing Broadway for a hobby. She jokes that he's over here just doing Broadway as a hobby. Like she thinks it's the funniest thing, but it illustrates the point of my passion for it. That I'm doing it with a passion is something I took an interest in the last 5 years and not necessarily just like, oh, I got to make a lot of money or, oh, I got to, try to get, richer by doing this. So that's how you got to look at it. If you're a young person and you want to do entertainment law, make sure you're in it for the right reasons. Make sure you're being realistic with yourself. Like if you're not an outgoing person and, you know, kind of have that kind of personality, do you want to be in entertainment where you got to really go to social functions and you got to do these kind of things that I'm having to do?
Right.
Because some of them don't want to do that. They want to just have the title, but they don't want to do the work.
Yes, and that's what people always ask me what advice I would give. That's what I share too, is that if you have to really love it. You have to really have a passion for it, or it's not going to work, and you're going to be very upset in whatever career, whatever you do, you're going to be very upset because if you cannot fight for it, if you cannot fail but then get back up, it's not
Yep.
for you.
It's not for you. That's it right there. If you're going to do a Broadway thing, investing or producing, you got to be willing to understand every show doesn't make money.
Right.
And it could be a great show, great production, but it didn't catch on with the audience quick enough. So the theater comes to you and says, hey, you're not selling out. The producers come to you and say, hey, we're not making enough money. We're going to close. You know how you see those early closures for a lot of
Yeah.
plays?
Yes.
That's what happens, that it just didn't catch on with the fans, with the viewership or the audience and membership. So you end up losing your money, but you got in it for, I just want to make money. I want to make money. Now you're all upset. Versus if you got in it with the ideal of, I just enjoy what I'm doing. I just enjoy, you know, this art, this medium. I just enjoy
Right.
this medium.
Yes. My last question for you. What has been the coolest, funnest part? I know funnest isn't a good word, but the
Uh-huh.
coolest part about being a producer for you so far?
The coolest part about this whole thing, just producer or just the whole Broadway experience? Which could,
Broadway experience, Broadway
the
experience.
coolest part is as a kid growing up 45 minutes from Broadway in Bridgeport, Connecticut, having lived in the projects, having lived in, some tough neighborhoods of Bridgeport, to walk in Times Square, Joel, and stand at 45th and Broadway and see a museum that you're part of, the Museum of Broadway, to see on the other side Hell's Kitchen, to look a few yards down and see all of the MJ paraphernalia on cabs, trash cans, hanging from the poles with the MJ poster board with the red and black, logo. And to look further down and see Buena Vista and see the ads of Dead Outlaw everywhere. There is nothing cooler than that. When I first came to New York many, many decades ago to start entertainment law, and I would come to Times Square and I look up and I see, Jay-Z or, at that time Diddy, I know what he's in now, but you see all of the pictures hanging, at Times Square, Beyonce, all these people, and you just like any little kid, you think like, wow, I wonder if I'll ever be, visible on Broadway like this with something. So to come now, as recently as 2 weeks ago, and literally stand at Times Square and see five of your properties advertised, music playing, Museum of Broadway sign lit up, Hell's Kitchen banner hanging, the MJ, like I said, garbage cans. I can't think of like I pinch myself. Like
Right.
you can't ask God for any more favor. You just can't ask God to give you any. You say, if I got nothing else, God, what you're doing right in this moment. I'm so, so grateful to be a boy from 45 minutes away, single mom, working her butt off just to get me through high school, get me to Howard. And now I'm sitting at the epicenter of entertainment, New York Times Square, and I've got five products running right now on Broadway. Oh, I mentioned Cabaret too, the ads for Cabaret. So you stand at Times Square and you see Cabaret, Buena Vista, MJ, Dead Outlaw, and Hell's Kitchen, and your museum. You can't. How can you not be grateful? And
That's
this ain't even.
incredible.
And this ain't even your main gig. Look to your left or right, and you see one of your artists from our entertainment law team. So artists that we're representing, one of their billboards or advertisements. So I praise God daily. I'm thankful. I'm thankful to you. I'm so grateful to Stephen and Aaliyah, Sonia and Leah Valak. There's a Leah and there's Leah. So I've always distinguished the two in my office. I'm grateful to Lauren. I'm grateful to hundreds of people working on our cast. And I often will check up on them just in their well being. If I go
Mm,
to a show, I'll stop backstage or stop outside and just make sure you're taking care of yourself. You're doing this show 8 times a week. Please take care of yourself. Please take care of your gift here, your vessel, your instrument. I'm very big on that with the artists because I understand the demands of it. Having been a trumpet player for 8 years, I know, you're playing every night. You kind of got to take some time off. But I hope I answered your question that that's the biggest blessing for me. It's not the monetary, it's not the notoriety, because when I'm standing there at Times Square, nobody knows who you are. I'm just standing there anonymous. So there's nothing notoriety wise. It's just knowing the man above has given me this favor to be able to stand there and see the fruits of my labor, the fruits of my investment, and to see we picked five winners.
yeah.
We picked five winners. All of
And
those plays were made.
that's not likely on Broadway.
Right, right, right. You know better than anybody because you've been
Yes.
covering Broadway for years. So to know that God not only put you in this lane, but made sure you picked from the right trees, picked the right fruit and everything, and that the fruit are bearing, just witness to the power of art and theater. That's what's the greatest part for me, if I had to just give my testimony. And I don't take it lightly. I'm doing everything in my power to make sure others get in this space. I hope we can have this interview 3 years from now and we're talking about more African American producers, more women producers, more, I guess they would say minorities. I don't like that word, but, more minorities kind of in the space doing the same thing I'm doing. The goal is to duplicate yourself, not still be saying 5 years from now, I'm the only one who owns a house in that neighborhood, or I'm the only one who's on that block, or I'm the only producer. The goal is to make it so that 5 years from now, I'm sitting before you and I can say, Joel, there are 10 other black men who are producing plays on Broadway now. And I'm
Absolutely.
and I'm just sitting in the background smiling like a proud dad.
But thank you so much. This has been incredible.